Good morning. Hi class, how are you all doing today? We're going to talk about invertebrates today. Woo woo, new unit. Okay. So first off, I would like to start the discussion with the question of what are invertebrates? This is where I get the previous knowledge on students to see what level that they are at and where we can start and where we can improve. A little bit of review. What is evolution? What about natural selection? Guys, remember phylogenetic trees? All of these show the relationship and changes between species and their similarities. So that way we can identify and relate them to each other. So, on this topic, then we go into the evolution of animal body plans to explain simple and complex body plans and how that evolution has changed with some examples of each. Now, why is this important? What's the impact, especially on your guys' everyday lives? Well, invertebrates include insects, correct? And a lot of our pollinators are actually invertebrates. So therefore, without our pollinators, we then our plants would suffer. If our plants suffered, we'd have less oxygen in our atmosphere, especially with pollution going on right now, excess carbon dioxide in the environment. It just would be bad all around, and this would have a huge impact not only on us humans but on the species around the world. So it is very important to understand what the invertebrates are, as well as their ecological roles and how we can help them. So to start into discussing invertebrates, I will then break it down section by section. So these are all the phyla, discuss each. I still have the hyperlinks, so that way we can go into further detail. And then normally, since I'd have a pretty long discussion period, I'd go into even further detail and try to break it down as specific as I possibly can from here on further down. But for the sake of this video, moving on. Okay, there we go. Now, the big assignment for this unit or for this project, but especially getting started for today's lesson, we'll first go through on how to use a dichotomous key. This is very important, not just for invertebrates, but for vertebrates and plants and other kinds of species. They're slightly different based off of the classification systems, but they are very useful tools to be able to identify the species of an individual. Next, we'll go through iNaturalist, which is an amazing website. Highly recommend the use of iNaturalist. So for the assignment overall for my class, I would like to assign everyone to identify at least 10 different species of invertebrates. These can either be something that you come across and you take photos of, or something that you decide to capture. So either collect specimens that you can bring to class or get good enough photos to post on iNaturalist, or both. That would be ideal. And go try to get as specific as you can. So now for these additional resources, I would like to go ahead and share a new screen. First, let me go over iNaturalist. It's an amazing website. And this is, here we are. So this is what an observation post would look like on iNaturalist. My good friend John, who works with Chico State, is amazing at research. He does a bunch of different types of species, but this is one of his posts. As you can see, this photo clearly shows the head. You can even see the eyes, the mouth parts, the antenna. There's two sets of wings on each side. You can see the body structure. It's a pretty amazing photo, so therefore it was just the one photo that was needed. And so then once you go ahead and post a photo, then you can identify the species. iNaturalist actually has an AI system that will at least help you find the family, if not the order. Sometimes they recommend species, but it is an AI system, so don't just trust the AI system. It'd be better to use the dichotomous key first to identify your species, but the wonderful thing about iNaturalist is that you can see multiple different people's observations, and everyone will either agree or disagree. You can see here, compare, agree, or if you want to learn about the about, this kind of tells you a little bit about the taxonomy and the iNaturalist system. So here it shows you the breakdown all the way down to this species. Next, I would like to go ahead and go over if you were going to capture your own specimens. It's amazing to be able to do field work and actually get your hands involved in the situation. This would be the method I would prefer, but I also would like everyone to utilize iNaturalist as well to share their posts. Specimens only last for so long, and unfortunately, it does mean usually the death of the specimen, which is an unfortunate situation. So I can understand if someone's uncomfortable or afraid to. But this is a wonderful guide. It helps you kind of just get started on the basic classification differences with invertebrates, especially land invertebrates. There are a couple crustaceans, as you can see, and mollusks. Well, there are some water mollusks and some land mollusks. So then this would go through. So no legs, here's what they possibly are. 6 legs, it breaks down beetles versus true bugs, insects, which are true, true flies versus bee, wasps, and ants, butterflies and moths, or grasshoppers, crickets, and earwigs, and lacewigs. And then we move into arachnids with the 8 legs, and then lots of legs, woodlice, centipedes, millipedes, and the differences between all of those, as well as some more additional information if you'd like. Now, here's what a dichotomous key looks like. This is the main big one for the invertebrates. It starts off with breaking down the phylums. So you'd go to number 1. Is it a vertebrate or no invertebrate? Okay, invertebrate. Okay, because if it's a vertebrate, you got to go to the chordata phylum because you're in the wrong section. So basically, does it have a backbone? And then next, going into this, if it's not an invertebrate, or if it is an invertebrate, excuse me, now we have to decide, does it have radial symmetry or asymmetry, or is it bilaterally symmetrical? So in other words, is it perfectly even on both sides, or is there going to be a different chunk, such as with sponges and other worms? And then you decide from here and you move on. You keep going down until either you follow something that leads into the next phylum or you continue going down. Ultimately, you find the next phylum and then we go on to the next key for that phylum. Another fun website that I've included is this kind of dichotomous key. It's not so much a dichotomous key as it is just more of a fun key. So then this one's a little easier, kind of helps break it down. I would recommend using this second, but still you can use this before iNaturalist. So you have to decide, okay, are there legs present or not? Let's say you had a worm, so there'd be no legs. Okay, is it a worm or is it a slug? You go through this and ultimately you'd find out. So let's say it was a worm, it would lead you to this kind of page, and it doesn't tell you species, but at least it would lead you into the next phyla. Alrighty, that is all I have to share today. Thank you so much for joining in, and I look forward to seeing your guys' observations. You have plenty of time to go ahead and do this. We're just getting started today, and we'll check in on our next class period. Alrighty, everyone, have a great day.